Vayichan sham Yisrael eged ha'har kulanu ke'echad.
Why does the Jew study Torah? Not just study Torah. Ki heim chayenu v'yorech yomeinu. To us, the primary value is that of Torah scholarship. What's it all about? So let's begin. We have to address this issue from several perspectives, but let's begin. The Rambam in his introduction to his Parashan Mishnah. The Hagdama to Seder Zeraim is quite long. Many basic concepts in Judaism, the foundations of the whole oral tradition are there. But towards the end, the 8th parak of his introduction, the Rambam makes note of the fact that everything that exists has a purpose. He says every species of animal has its thing, that which it does naturally and excels in. And the Rambam goes further and he says, they're all there to serve us. But what is our purpose? In truth, we're weaker than most of the animal kingdom. They have abilities that we don't. Can't fly. We don't run as fast as so many animals. Strength. Well, try an arm wrestle. The tiger. A leopard. Don't try it. The Rambam doesn't say this, but how is it that we manage to get hold of them? They're in captivity. We have whales in aquariums. What is our advantage over them? Says the Rambam, obviously our intelligence. It's got to be that what makes man special, and therefore what the purpose of our existence and all existence is the enhancement of our intelligence. That's a statement the Rambam makes. So then the Rambam asks the question, so let's just be academics. Why is there a need for observance? Says the Rambam, because if we'd only be academics, but live like the non-academics, there would be animals. The Rambam says we'd be animals. What does the Rambam mean we'd be animals? What the Rambam seems to be saying is that then we're not wise. In other words, wisdom does not mean mastering an academic exercise. It doesn't mean something detached. It means something very well integrated. And we know, when you get it, it changes your attitude. A Rebbe of mine used to say, we never saw someone stand up in the middle of the road in front of an oncoming car and people say, scream that people say, get out of the way. And he says, I know, I'm just not up to dealing with it now. To say I'm not up to dealing with it generally means I didn't get it. It didn't sink in. It didn't sink in. Yeah, I know smoking kills, but you don't know smoking kills. You don't know. Unless what we're talking about is simply a chemical addiction where you got to take care of it by other means. But in terms of the decision to do something, When you know it, that's the way you live. If you live otherwise, you didn't really get it. You sort of know it. You can repeat the words. It's not integrated. And in Rambam's terminology, you're not yet wise. You may have information at your fingertips. You may have memorized volumes. You haven't become wise. According to the Rambam, the study of Torah is a process of becoming wise. And of course, that means that the study of Torah is not just the academic exercise. It doesn't just mean master the academic acrobatics, being able to put together something that is just so intelligent. What it means is getting it. Getting it, yeah. Really getting it. Okay. So we want to be wise, and we got to be wise. Hashem created us with brains. He gave us the ability to exercise our intellectual abilities. He also gave us the responsibility to do so. We've got to be wise. But we go further. Lutzato says this in Derech Hashem. Nefesh HaChaim, as much as he's trying to convince us otherwise, really says it too. And that is that the study of Torah offers us the highest level of connection with the Almighty. Now, the Nefesh HaChaim does not like the idea of one, as he is studying, experiencing a closeness with the Almighty, because as he puts it, you've got to use every bit of space you've got in your brain to understand what you are studying. There's no room to concentrate on anything else. But he agrees, before you start, when you close the sefer, whenever you pause, become conscious of it. So we've got to understand this. What is this connection with the Almighty through Torah study? You see, in light of what we've just seen in the Rambam, in light of the idea of the study of Torah involving integration, really changing the way you think, the process of Torah study becomes not just an exercise, but the systematic transformation of every brain cell we've got to be aligned with the divine wisdom. To get ourselves to think the way kivayochol, the way the divine thinks. Yeah, the Gemara asks, there's a mitzvah of Osidbak, connect yourself to the Almighty. How do you connect yourself? He is Aish Ochla, a burning fire, which in itself is allegorical. In what way does one connect to Hashem? Talmud Torah. Talmud Torah is the first thing, the most intense of all. What it means is I am ingesting the divine wisdom in my brain, transforming my brain to think like the Almighty, so that my attitudes become the attitudes of the way He thinks. You know, the concept of Das Torah, where people seek out great Talmidei Chachamim for the sake of guidance in all matters of life, not just halacha. That's based on a confidence that someone whose mind is aligned with the wisdom of Hashem knows how to work through any issue in the best way possible. Obviously, you've got to provide him with the information. We're not talking Ruach HaKodesh here. You've got to provide him with the information. Once he's got the information, he will know how to deal with it like nobody else. The idea is to develop a brain that thinks like Hashem. And understanding that this is the closest you can ever get to him. The closest you can ever get to really joining up with him. To join with the Creator is by ingesting his wisdom. His wisdom becomes part of you. It transforms you. Not only that, we are all aware that throughout the Torah, closeness, intimacy is expressed in the word vayeda. And he knew. True intimacy is a relationship where there's mutual understanding, where you really feel you understand somebody, where you identify with them, with what they're all about. There's no place that you can be a vayeda to Hashem like in studying his Torah. The feeling of closeness. You know, back in the olden days, some Chassidim still do it today. Every time one studied, when you opened, whether it was a Mishnah, whether it was a Gemara, whether it was a Rashi, Zok the Heilige Rashi, says the Holy Rashi. Zok the Heilige Mishnah, the Holy Mishnah says. To be aware of the fact that what you're doing is connecting to the source of this wisdom, which is the Creator himself. That awareness creates a connection. Our love of Torah is love of Hashem. Provided that our study is integrated. And really, what follows from that is the Bahalachta B'drachav of developing the midos that Hashem has presented himself as having within Torah. The Bahalachta B'drachav Mahu Afata. In studying Torah, where we come to recognize how Hashem presents himself. And we integrate that, feel that way, and act that way. That's a closeness to Hashem. And if you take the time to think about it and feel it, it is so moving. There's such a closeness to Hashem. This is really what Talmud Torah is supposed to be. And the definition of a Talmud Chacham is someone who has studied all of Torah and knows how to apply it. He's integrated it so that he knows what to do in any given situation. So we've got to apply this to Shavuos and understand what the Yontif is. So what has become the Iker of Shavuos, which is really much more contemporary, is the Shlah's account of the Beis Yosef staying up all night. There they did it 2 nights. The second night they had a minyan and the bas kol that came out. And from there it has become the Minhag Yisrael. It is mentioned in the Zohar as well. But the story in the Shalah, in the Shalah really gets us. A bas kol in the days of the Beis Yosef. So the minhag is to stay up all night and study on Shavuos. I remember the years in the yeshiva. So people would always note, Erev Shavuos, you've got to get a rest. You've got to take a nice, good nap because you're going to stay up all night. Shavuos night, well, the minhag is Tamimos. We start davening Ma'ariv quite late. And then there's the Sudas Yantif. So by the time you get to the base medrash, it's quite late. And then it's summer, the nights are short, the days are long. Before you know it, the different opinions of when it's time to start washing in a Safek Birkas HaTorah. So you end up learning, you learn a couple of hours. Shavuos day, you're up all night. You got to sleep. So the claim people always made was this minhag of staying up all night learning on Shavuos really amounts to taking the Zman Matan Torah Seinu and turning that as the season that we learn less than any other time of the year. That was what people used to joke about in yeshivas, and there were always the ones that said, no, I'll sleep a couple of hours Leil Shavuos, and I'll learn all of Erev Shavuos and learn Shavuos day. The all-night shiurim, which could be passive, often people sleep through them anyway, depending how exciting they are. The question is, what's it all about? And the premise is a bit mistaken. The assumption is that the idea of learning all night is making sure that on Shavuos you learn a lot. So I'd like to go back a little bit. Shavuos, we celebrate Zman Matan Torah Seinu, the Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu went up to get on Shavuos, the Luchas. When he came back, he broke the Luchas. We had made the Egel and we lost our whole connection to Torah. The Torah we have today is not the Torah of Luchas Rishonas, it's the Torah of Luchas Shnias, of what we got in Yom Kippur. And the truth is that Yom Kippur is something of a Kabbalah Torah we're makabel on ourselves to keep everything. What exactly are we celebrating on Shavuos? On Shavuos, we're celebrating Maimed Har Sinai, which never recurred. There was no second Maimed Har Sinai. Maimed Har Sinai was only the first time around. Maimed Har Sinai, where the entire nation experienced prophecy. Hashem brought us all to the level where we experienced prophecy. We heard Anochi v'lo yeh mipi agvur. The Simcha. Har Sinai was all green. The Simcha. Elyonim sasu, tachtonim ilzu. The Kabbalah's Torah. That connection. The joy of the connection. That's what we're reliving. The joy of the connection to Hashem by way of connection to His wisdom. That happened at Maimed Har Sinai itself. Every year, we're to celebrate Shavuos by feeling that connection and expressing the joy. The idea of being up all night Shavuos is spending the whole Shavuos night with Torah as an expression of our joy. In fact, if we look to the account of what they did there, they were hayu medalgin mi Torah l'neviim l'ksuvim v'hayu hadvarim smeichim k'nisi nasan. This is the source to Tikkun Leil Shavuos. They were jumping from Torah to Nevi'im to Ksuvim. They spent the whole night dancing through Torah, dancing with Torah. It was the joy, like that elevation, the satisfaction, the ecstasy of Klal Yisrael at Maimed Har Sinai, connecting to Hashem to the point of prophecy and hearing Him speak. That's what we're reliving. Shavuos Zman Matan Torah Seinu is the festival of the love of Torah. It's the festival of the love of Hashem by way of His wisdom. That is the Yom Tov of Shavuos. That's what one has to develop. So how do you develop a love for Torah? You study it. You rack your brains. You got to make sense of it. You got to get to the bottom of it. You've got to integrate it till you really feel, wow, this is right. In davening, the bracha after Shema at Shachrus, Emes v'yatziv v'nochom v'kayom, my favorite is umekubol. Umekubol means it sits well. It sits well. If you study Torah and it doesn't sit well, you just didn't get it yet. You didn't get it yet. You didn't get it yet. Either you don't have the right pshat, either you misread it, or you didn't really understand it, or there's something in your attitudes that's different, that prevents you from being able to make peace with it, and it's time to rethink your attitude on this subject. Torah has to be makubal. It sits well. This is Talmud Torah. Talmud Torah is getting it, studying the Torah, studying every halacha, studying every Maimer Chazal, till it makes sense, till you feel it, till it becomes so simple to you that you're going to live that way. Yes, you are up to dealing with it, because you got it. You really got it. And you know this is divine wisdom, and your brain is ingesting divine wisdom. Your brain is in sync with the will of Hashem. It's in sync with the wisdom of Hashem. That is the greatest closeness possible. And that is the greatest joy. We love Torah. The Jews' connection to Torah is one of love, nothing less. We're the only people on earth that dance with their books on Simchas Torah. We're the only, I don't know the absent-minded professor that does it. We are the only people on earth that dance with their books. We love it. It is our closeness to Hashem in the most intense possible way. It's our passion, our love of learning, and our growth as human beings when we learn. And above all, that relationship with Hashem. Torah is ideally studied b'chabura. We exchange ideas. Our different shorashei neshama meet up with one another. And although we argue, and that's what Jews are like, we argue. Chazal tell us, milchamto shel Torah, the battle for Torah, the war of arguing a point. What does that accomplish? Basof na'asim ohavim. The closest friendships and relationships come about from chavrusis that battle it out and call each other names as they're studying. Is vohev besufa, na'asim ohavim. If all of Klal Yisrael would get together, learn together, argue and learning together, we'd all love one another. We love Hashem. We love our Torah. We love each other. Our whole existence would be one of an entirety of love, of shleimus. Have a joyous Shavuos. And Yirtzeh Hashem, set your goals for more and more learning, more and more understanding, more and more integration, more and more love for Hashem, His Torah, and His people.